our language is, by our people, we are told that it is a very sacred language and that we must keep it sacred at all times. That's what we are told. In our history as Dine, we're told that the Bizzad, or the language of the Dine, or the Navajo language, is said to be a very sacred language. And that's because the holy people use that language, we're told, to organize all things of the universe and on the Mother Earth. That when the holy people were in the process of organizing Mother Earth, they used that sacred language. And when they organized Mother Earth, they took material and everything that was out in the void, and they put a piece of crystal. Tagatntini is what they call that crystal, the clear crystal. And it became the center of the Mother Earth. And then around it are all of the different layers of what they had found in the void, and they organized Mother Earth. In our language of the Dine, we don't have a word for create. It is that we say chatalia, or organized, or dressed up. And so it is that the earth and all that is, we are told, was organized by the holy people, and they used the sacred language. After they had organized Mother Earth and placed the five-fingered being on the surface, they allowed them to keep the language that was used by the holy people to organize all things. But as time passed, the people began to pervert the words and the use of the sacred language, and they would move mountains, and they would reconstruct the course of the rivers, and they were just doing all kinds of unwise things with the powers of the words. And so the holy people told everyone, we're going to take that language away from you, and we're going to give you a different language. And so a group of the five-fingered being came together, and they said, let's ask the holy people if we can keep the language. And so they came together and they discussed why they needed to keep the original language. And so they approached the holy people the first time, and presented their case to the holy people, asking them to be allowed to keep the original language. And they were told no. And so it happened that they were denied 3 times. And finally, the 4th time they went. And the argument that they presented to the holy people was, if you allow us to keep the language, we will use it in wise ways. And we will talk to the vegetation, to the plants. We will use it to talk to the insects. We will use it to talk to the birds and to all of the creatures, the animals. And we will encourage them to be of help to the five-fingered being, the children of the holy people. And after they presented that argument and asked the holy people to be allowed to keep the language, they were given very strict instructions and told, this is a sacred language. And in this language, the things that come out of your mouths are going to have to remain sacred. And so you're going to have special ways to speak to your mothers and to your fathers, and special ways to speak to your children, and the special ways to speak to one another. Which is take care of your language. And this is a sacred language. And so it was that the Dine, they say that they were allowed to keep the language and to use it in sacred ways. And so they were given the opportunity to have 12 sacred words Na Kitsataha'otze is what they call it. And we do have those 12 sacred words, and they're supposed to be used in special settings. And there's not very many Dine that know these sacred words. And they're used at certain special times to call down the rains or the snows, and to call down the wind and all these different things. And they were given that authority and the opportunity to use it in sacred ways. And so it is that our language, the Bizzad, is considered a very sacred language. And these are the reasons that we are told that we must always remember that how we speak it and what we say and how we say it. It is also that the Bizzad is a very complete language in many ways. And it is like we can say such things as computer, which would be a descriptive way of saying it, would be to say Besachi Enadne, which means the metal in its parts that have memory. And if you were to say the internet, you might say Besachi Enadne Betin, and that would mean the road that is used by the metal in its parts that have memory. But there are some words that we didn't have for such things as money. And the time that we actually came in contact with actual currency was when the Spaniards came into this the area of the Southwest, and they had the peso. And so it was that we have a word for metal, besh. So we take the two words, besh and peso, and combine it, and when we say money, we say peso. And then, of course, another word would be an apple. In Spanish, it would be the manzana. And in our language, when we say apple, we say balazana, which is combining the word senbahanesta, which means it is harvested from a tree. And then we would say the word balazana to make it sound like the Spanish word manzana. So it is that we have words in that we have developed with the contact with Europeans and that when they came to this continent. And so it is that our language is, by our people, we are told that it is a very sacred language, and that we must keep it sacred at all times. That's what we are told.